CURED, the Cheryl Woods story. The following is the experience shared from close family members. Take a listen.
Um, I am my mom's daughter, of course, and I just want to talk a little bit about her. Um, so during when I found out my mom was diagnosed with sarcoidosis, it definitely affected me. This is when I was like just about to start college. I believe I was in my first semester at Austin Community College. And when she was starting to get super sick, I had a choice to go off to college, like to a 4-year university, or, stay at the community college for a little while longer. When she got sick, I just felt super guilty leaving her. I was staying with my parents at this time, and I just couldn't leave. Like, I just wasn't ready I wasn't ready mentally, not even physically. I didn't want to leave my family, and that's okay. But I just didn't want to leave her alone. I felt like I just felt guilty. Like, if I leave her, what if something happens? That's on me. My dad and brother, they have to work, and I'm the only one that she has. And at that time, I was the only one I was taking her to her doctor's appointments faithfully. I wasn't working. I was just in school, so I was able to do that. And that was my road dog. Like, we we did a lot of things together. Like, we bonded. Like, that's my friend. I love my mom to death. We're very close, and it definitely affected me mentally. I'm the type of person that don't show my emotion, so I just don't like to get emotional around people, and it definitely affected me because I really held in a lot of my emotions, and that's pretty damaging for you. I wouldn't advise that, of course, but that was just me at the time. I still suffer with that, but it definitely affected me. But in my alone time, I definitely cried. I definitely felt guilty, helpless that I couldn't take the pain away. I hated it, and I didn't want to leave her. So that's how it affected me when, we found out that she was sick and getting sicker. The most scariest moment since the diagnosis was she had a procedure. It was years ago, but she definitely was diagnosed with sarcoidosis at the time. And me and my family, we was all waiting for her in the waiting room, and the doctor came out. It was supposed to be a small procedure. I can't remember exactly which one it was. I don't know if she had to get the defibrillator in and they were sewing her back up, something else. I can't remember. But my mom undergo a lot of procedures. She's a tough cookie. But at this time, we were sitting there, and the doctor came and was like, she's not waking up. That, in that moment, was the scariest moment, because in a split second, you thinking oh my gosh, is my mom, is she dying? You don't want to say that out loud because I'm a woman of faith. So, but I definitely had doubts in my head because she wasn't waking up. She wasn't responding. Me and my family was terrified. We was getting anxious and stressed out. That was the scariest part, but God, he came through on time, and she woke up eventually, but it was very scary, very. I want to have my mom to this day. It probably will be 2-3 years since then. So, yeah, that was the scariest moment for sure. The most scariest, definitely. So, the proudest moment, wow, when she recovered, getting her defibrillator in, you have to recover at least 4 to 6 weeks, and she's strong. The family came and visit her, and she's cracking jokes and making you laugh and taking, she has to take it slow, so taking walks throughout the hospital, and And that was the proudest moment, because it was like, I'm sad about this because she's hurting, but it's like she still wants to be happy. Like, she still wants the family to not worry. And it was like, I'm proud of my mom because she went through so much pain, but yet she's still keeping her faith. And I was very proud of that. And I look up to my mom as she's she's very a faithful woman. And I really look up to that. And I desire to do the same. What would I say to supporting family and friends to encourage others who is a family member who was diagnosed with SARC? Well, I would definitely say be an encourager to a survivor of sarcoidosis, because they experience so much pain and so much mental struggle because they feel alone. My mom feels alone a lot of times, but she's so strong and she has a support system. And so we just make her know, like, Mom, like, you have us. You're not alone in this. We're with you. We love you. We're proud of you. You keep being faithful in God. You just encourage them. That's what they need most, because they do feel alone. And your job is to make them not feel that as best as you can, and to pray for them. That's very important. The Bible says 2 or 3 gathered in your name, he should be in the midst, and we believe that, and we stick by that. So prayer and encouragement, I should say, to someone supporting someone dealing with sarcoidosis. And just special remarks to my mommy. I love you, Ma. I look up to you. I love you so much. I always call you my little mama because I'm like 5'7", and you like, what, 5'3". But I love you so much. You make me proud, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You have my back, my side. Like, you are my road dog, and you will always be. And I love you so much, and I thank God every day for you, because you all I got. You my only mama. And I just thank God for you. Keep fighting, Mama. Keep fighting this. And we are here with you. I love you.
Greetings, Mr. Woods. Would you like to introduce yourself and let the audience know what your name is, what your affiliation to Mrs. Cheryl Woods?
Hi, my name is Rodney Woods, and I'm the husband of Cheryl Woods.
How long have y'all been married?
We've been married for 27 years.
Wow. Awesome. So we're going to begin this documentary with your perspective of how you were impacted after her diagnosis of sarcoidosis, and just give us a little insight.
Well, yes, I just thank God that I know if it wasn't for God who was on our side, she wouldn't be here today. And I thank God for his strength. I thank God for all of his provision. I thank God for his protection, because without him, healing wouldn't have even taken place. But it was stressful, still having to work and making sure the insurance was available for her so she could get good doctor's care. So, like I was saying earlier, without God, it wouldn't be possible. And it is true that without faith, it is impossible to please God. But he that comes to God must first believe that he is, and that he is a reward of them that diligently seeks him. And I just thank God for his faith. I thank God for his strength. I thank God for just him holding us up through it all. I know without him, everything is impossible, but with him, all things are possible. And I just thank God for him bringing us through it.
You are absolutely right. God is definitely the foundation, especially when you're going through a situation that seems incurable to man. You mentioned about having to work and make sure she has the provision, but how did it has it physically or emotionally affected you on this journey? And if so, how?
Oh yeah, I mean, when you get a doctor's report that, just giving her 6 months or less to live. I remember walking out the hospital that time when we had got that report, and I got in the car, and I remember this song, because it really, to get news of your loved one, someone you love dearly, he's got 6 months to live. How do you take that? A natural reaction, because we're human first. It was fearful. It was draining. It was emotionally draining. It was a scary moment. But like I said, without God, I wouldn't have made it through it. I wouldn't have made it through it. And I got in the car, and this song came on by Smokey Norfolk. When he said, it was me. I was there, all the time. And I just thank God for his strength. I thank God for that song letting me know that he was there all the time. And I know without him, we wouldn't have made it. But it was by his strength. Without him, I wouldn't have made it through it. But I know it was by his strength that we made it through. And we're yet making it through every day. Because this is a daily walk with God.
Absolutely. Every day. Just got to take it day by day. Great. How about you being the provider? How have you been impacted when it comes to like working and still the on the psychological part of still having to come home and care for your wife at the same time?
I don't want to take all the credit. I thank God for Jay every single day, because he has been quite a help to us, in so many ways. And I just can't thank him enough. But, it's been very emotionally draining and stressful, just to be at work, and sometimes in knowing that you can't be there with us sometimes, and that's emotionally draining. And sometimes you can't really express it, you can't really say it, but it weighs on you sometimes. And I have to always go back to God, because I always ask him for strength, and he always provides. That's all I can say, because I know without him, I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't even made it through.
So you're saying your outlet of reassurance through this process of her diagnosis, God has been your source of strength through prayer. Any other outlet or avenue you have did to cope with your stress on how you have dealt with her diagnosis?
Just continue to trust God. I know, because it's not like it's, but when Cheryl and I got together, she would deal with seizures and migraines, and she would stop breathing, and I wasn't saved, and fear would just overtake me. I mean, I can't explain how fearful I was until this one particular time. She was having a seizure, and she had passed out, and she wasn't breathing. And in my mind, I said, what can I do? We were in Thailand. Miss Linda was in San Antonio. So, in my mind, I said, well, I'm going to call her. And I was dialing the phone, and out of nowhere, out of her sleep or whatever she was in that seizure, she said, no, you pray for me. And from that moment in time, I believe God birthed something in me that I don't even really know all what it was today, but I know it birthed for me to know that prayer changes all things. and it showed me how to pray and what to pray for, and that, you know, if God can speak to her while she's having a coma, to me, in my moment of weakness, I know God is able to do all things and exceeding above all things we can even think or imagine. And I know that I haven't had any outlets, you know. All I can say is, you know, I don't have a lot of real friends that I could just go to and say, and just share, you know, and tell them what's going on. All I can know is it's just me and God. That's all I can say. That's all I can say.
That is powerful. That in her early stages of other health issues, in your sinful place, she spoke and birthed prayer through you. And then to see the transformation years down the road of how God has transformed your life is a powerful testimony to other people who don't know God, but in the moment God is still near. That is amazing. Thank you for that. Tell us how, or don't tell us how. Share with us one of your realest moments since the diagnosis. Have there been any experiences that have been like eye-opening or awakening for you as a husband?
You know, a lot of what we don't see too is, you know, we look at Cheryl's congestive heart failure, but a lot of it we don't see the underlying conditions like the sarcoidosis and all of what that entails. You know, dealing with that on top of having congestive heart failure, which causes seizures. And when we start thinking about how she's here alone and the times that she's had seizures while she was here alone and didn't even say nothing that she was having seizures. But God yet had his hand on her. And it was so obvious. She fell in the kitchen. She was here, fell in the kitchen. I think cut her hand, I believe it was. And she had a seizure in the bed in here. And nobody was here. So in my thinking, I know the hand of God is on her, and without a shadow of doubt, when in the hospital, she went in, she had fluid on her lungs, and it was drowning her heart. So they had to take the fluid off of her lungs. So in doing so, they punctured her lung while she was in the hospital. And all this. Then on top of that, they had to take the pacemaker out and put a defibrillator in. Then on top of that, to be conclusive to find out if she had sarcoidosis that affected her heart, they had to give her a biopsy. They had to take a needle down through her neck and to get a piece of her heart. And I'm thinking, and I go to that hospital and look at her, and she was still saying, I trust God. And all I could say, I mean, whoa, if I could just say, woe is me, and I'm looking at her condition, how can I even complain when you know without a shadow of a doubt that the hand of God is on her life? And there was no devil, there was no enemy that could take her out, because God still had his hand on her. And I know that was a miracle from God that he brought her out. And I know his hand is still on her. And you know, when people quote the scriptures that he didn't give us the spirit of fear, but he gave us power, love, and a sound mind. And I believe that she faked her fears to death. You know, she believed the impossible. Every time everybody would come to the hospital, she said, I still trust God. That was her saying, I still trust God. I can remember, even though I never seen her wane or get scared. If she did, she didn't show it. She just said, I trust God. And she's still saying the same thing right today. And I know it's nobody but God. Nobody but God.
That's amazing. If you could tell another surviving spouse, what words of encouragement would you give that spouse whose loved one has been diagnosed with sarcoidosis? What would you tell that individual?
I would say hang in there and never give up. Keep trusting God. And if you don't have a relationship with God, seek after Him and get in His Word. Seek after scriptures, healing scriptures and scriptures that will strengthen you and open your heart, open your mind to Him, that you might continue to trust God and believe the impossible. Because with God, all things are possible.
Amen. Is there anything you would like to share or let the world know, a special message to Cheryl Woods?
Say that again.
Is there a special message that you would like to share with the world to Cheryl Woods, your wife?
Yes, I would just like to say that God is not through with you. And I would just like to say that if you keep trusting God and keep believing God, He will make a way. And that your light is shining bright. And it's a city that's set on a hill that cannot be hidden. And continue and keep letting your light shine bright. Because God sees and He knows all things.
Thank you for your perspective and how you were impacted due to your wife's diagnosis of sarcoidosis from the past 7 years. And we know that the number 7 is completion. We just believe God going into a new year for new beginnings, a new health, new heart, new body, new everything that she needs. And this is just a testimony that we know where the cure lies.
Yes.
It lies in God.
Yes.
My name is Edwin Ross, and I'm Cheryl Woods' brother.
Hi, and I'm Michelle Ross, her sister-in-law.
How has her diagnosis affected you guys?
Well, it's my sister, and anything happen to her, feel like it's happening to me. I don't want anything to go wrong with her.
For me, it was just hearing the diagnosis and not having an understanding of it. And that put fear in my heart. And when I was scared for myself, I was also scared for her as well.
What was the most scariest moment you've experienced since her diagnosis?
When they told me she had 6 months to live.
For me, it was hearing that she was going to need a defibrillator in order for her to just continue living this life. And like I stated earlier, without proper knowledge of what was happening, it was just fear for me.
What was your most proudest moment?
When she proved the doctors wrong and outlived 6 months. And still living to this day.
Yes, that was it. Outliving the diagnosis of the 6 months and beating sarcoidosis, basically. With her, for me, it was defeating it. She
Yes.
didn't bow down to it.
Yes.
She didn't succumb to it. She kept her faith.
Yes.
She kept believing in God. Whenever you hear her speaking of it, she always say, "Sissy, I'm not going to let it beat me. I'm not going to let it beat me." And she didn't. And that makes me know that in anything that I go through,
It's
I
a
look
small
at,
thing.
right, she's like a role model.
Yes.
So if she can go through sarcoidosis, I can go through
Congestive
anything.
heart failure.
Yes.
We can go through anything.
What would you say to supporting friends or family for encouraging words of the diagnosis?
I would tell anyone to continue in prayer, get educated about the disease, and continue putting faith in God, because he's a miracle worker. Cheryl is a walking miracle. They gave her 6 months, and God working a miracle in her and through her proved the doctors wrong. God is our ultimate doctor. What man says, God overrides.
Yes.
So I would tell any family going through any type of chronic illness,
Get educated.
that one, and also continue in faith and prayer.
That's it.
So would you say that your social and personal life is, it has been affected since her diagnosis, or it's the same, or not really no change?
Yeah, it's no change. Like I said, it's not a burden. So it hasn't changed anything. I mean, I'm still able to do what I want to do or whatever, you know. So it hasn't changed my personal or, what'd you say, social? Yeah, it hasn't changed that either. So, yeah, it hasn't changed anything.
You just hasn't incorporated it or managed it as you go by the day. It's a day by day thing.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah, day by day.
Awesome. What is the worst health scare you have experienced that you saw your mom experience since the diagnosis?
The worst?
Or the one that you felt like this could be it?
Well, that time when she was in the hospital, and that's when it became real, because she was in the hospital and the doctors were telling her that she didn't have much longer to live, you know. And I remember my brother and Sonia going up there, and she was telling them, like, she was talking like she wasn't gonna be here much longer, you know. And I would say that was probably the realest moment that I've had. Now, the feelings, I can't really remember the feelings because it was like so long ago. But I can say when my brother and them was telling me what she was saying, you know, I was feeling scared though. I won't lie about that. But I do also know that we know a higher power, you know. So I just start praying and asking God to keep her and not take her away from us. And she's still here today, so I can say God heard my prayers.
So what I've noticed in interviewing the family is that God is the foundation. Like, he is the source, especially when you're going through something that's incurable. Would you say?
Well, they say it's incurable, but we both know God can cure everything. You know what I'm saying? So he's the chief physician. Everybody can say that you have such and such long to live or whatever, but until God says it's over, then it's over. But until then, you just keep trusting in the Lord.
So faith is your foundation.
It has to be.
Awesome. So tell us about a moment that you felt like, or have you had a moment where you felt as a son, is there something else I can do, or am I doing enough?
No.
Awesome.
I mean, no, because I guess I realized what the situation is, you know? I mean, it's nothing that I can do about it because I'm not God. But I was telling her the other day, I was like, man, I wish I could take, you know, your pain away, you know what I'm saying? Like John Coffey was doing in that movie. You know, he was taking their pain away and giving it to somebody else. Now, I wouldn't give it to nobody else because I wouldn't wish it on nobody else, but I wish I could take it away and release it like someone from far away, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's nothing that I can do about it.
Awesome. If there was anything that you had to share or tell another surviving son or daughter whose parent is facing sarcoidosis? What words of encouragement would you leave with that person?
I would just tell them to pray and stand on faith, because I don't think all sarcoidosis patients are the same. So I can't, like, that person, individual that has sarcoidosis may be going through something totally different than what my mom's going through. So I can just tell them, just stay prayed up and have faith. That's it. I mean, that's all we can do.
And any closing remarks that you would like to share with the world to tell your mom?
Want to say it again?
Would you like to share any closing remarks to your mother that you would like to share with the world? Like if there is one thing or something you would like the world to know concerning your mom and how you feel and what you believe and what your hopes are, what would be those things?
Well, I would say she's a strong woman, and she took this thing on the chin, you know what I'm saying? She took it on the chin and got up, and she's still fighting. We all fighting, we all believing, we all standing on faith. And, you know, I just say keep fighting. Keep fighting a good fight of faith, and, you know, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. So, that's what I got to say.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your perspective on how you are impacted by your mom's diagnosis, and we believe that this is not over. God is the great physician, as you stated, which is, and faith is the foundation. And at the end of the day, she is a survivor, and she is not only surviving but thriving to show other sarcoidosis patients that with God all things is possible. So thank you once again for sharing your insight with us on today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Greetings. This is the Cheryl Woods documentary, and here we have two special guests, and I would like each of you to introduce yourself and what's your relationship to Cheryl Woods.
Hey, I'm Aaron Ross, better known as AJ or Baby Boy, and that's my mama.
And I'm Sonia Richards Ross. I'm AJ's wife, and I'm Cheryl's daughter-in-law.
Awesome. Thank y'all so very much for deciding to participate with this documentary on her diagnosis of sarcoidosis. And briefly, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Just speak however you feel, flow with it, and share with the world your experience. First question is, how has her diagnosis of sarcoidosis affected you collectively?
That's a good question. Collectively, as I guess a husband, it's been good. Being able to, I guess, bring my mom and my wife together through the journey that my mom is going through, so my wife can kind of understand. She's been there from the very beginning when mom got her first diagnosis of having sarcoidosis. So she's been here with me on the journey, understanding when I'm at home with my mom, if she's having seizures or not feeling too well, I have somebody to support me on the end of, on the other end, being the son of my mom going through it. So it's been good to have a support system that I can depend on.
I would say Mama's diagnosis of sarcoidosis has been really tough on our family because it has impacted her so much, and you know, it's a scary disease, unknown to most of us in the family. I had never heard of it until Mama was diagnosed with it, and so I feel like it's been really hard because you just never know, and it seems like there's a complication after another complication. And so I think it helps us to like really cherish the time that we have together, and we try to put all the small things on the back burner and just really focus on how fortunate we are. When she was originally diagnosed, the doctor said she only had 6 months, and here we are 5 years later, 6 years later, if not more. So we count every day a blessing, and know that, you know, life is short, but it's definitely had a tough impact on the entire family, knowing just how sick she has been, and, you know, that it's just, you know, anything could happen.
Absolutely. Great. What are the highlights since her diagnosis? Like, what are some good points that you have seen her since the diagnosis experience?
I guess the good points, or the proudest moments, has been just seeing her fight. I've always known my mom to be a fighter, but to see her fight through this disease has been one of the proudest moments. Just seeing how I'll never forget when the doctor said she only had 6 months. First, what, the devil's a lie? Don't put that on me. So just to see her strength even when she's at her weakest, I'm super proud to see that. It gives me strength every time I go down there and see her, and she's happy. She's a ball of light. It encourages me to be able to fight through whatever I'm going through.
I would have to say the highlight has been seeing her spend time with Deuce, and being a grandmother. I think that's a role that she loves and embraces so much. And so, you know, if the doctor's diagnosis was correct, she wouldn't have been here to see her grandson. And so for me, I think that is the best, to be able to see her in the grandma role, like asking to spend time with Deuce. And she's one of the few people who, when she's with him, she's 100% with him and gives him all the attention in the world. So I would say for me, that's been the highlight, to see her. She's already been a grandmother. Obviously, she had Jalen in her life for a long time, but to see her in a grandmother role again with a baby, I think that has been the highlight for me.
Awesome. So you would say that foundation of God, faith, hope has been the anchor in all of this. That's very important.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Tough question. I know since her diagnosis, like you said, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, and there has been moments where you have had some scare moments. Share with us, if any, that you have experienced. Like,
yes, a few of them. I would have to say the very first time was hearing the doctor say she only had 6 months. That was just, I can't even explain the feeling. I remember being in Austin with me and Jay. We were together when they called and told us, and we broke down as if we were like 2 or 3 year old babies, with the understanding that we're about to lose our mom. So that was a huge blow for us just to hear that. And then the next time, one of the scariest moments I went through was a couple of maybe weeks or months after she was diagnosed with the disease. She had a really bad seizure, and I'll never forget, Granny started to take her pulse, and I seen, my grandma's a nurse, so I seen the fear come over her face without her even saying anything. And I just remember us all getting down, starting to pray, and then my mom just, so that was one of the, I felt like I lost my mom then, in that moment. So that was probably the next moment that I'll never forget. And then just seeing the doctors give her, like, prescribe her 30 pills to take, me understanding kind of how the body works. I understand what those pills can do to her, with her taking 30 every single day. And that was another scary moment for me, because I know it can break down her kidneys or liver. It can cause other complications. So it's been quite a few scary moments, but I guess I would say those are the top three for me.
Yeah, and I just remember, I can't remember if I don't think I was in the hospital, but I was close by when the second instance that Ross talked about, when Granny said that she died. Granny said that she died, like she had lost a pulse, and it was really scary. And I remember getting to the hospital like right after it happened and actually being able to see her alive. But I've just heard so many stories of just, you know, near-death experiences that it's just, it feels very real to me too. But yeah, I mean, obviously when, you know, she's my mom too, so, and I just can't imagine the hurt that Ross and Jay and Kia always experience and feel. So yeah, I've been fortunate to never see her actually have a seizure or in any of those moments, but I live it through Ross, and it's been very scary for me too.
Absolutely, absolutely. This has been so good. Last question. Well, two more. What would you say to other family members who have been diagnosed with a chronic illness or sarcoidosis? What would you say to them as support, as words of encouragement?
I would just say be there to support them, encourage them, and then of course pray. It's kind of out of our hands. There's nothing that we can do to make her feel better besides supporting whatever she's doing, trying to keep her as happy as possible, and of course pray. It's the only three things I feel like we can do in this case, and I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, I would say number one is pray. And I think as a family, you know, whatever research you can do to provide whatever additional resources to help the family member who is going through it to cope, I think that's always a great way to be supportive. I also think if you can, I know with Mama, she's had to have a lot of dietary changes and stuff like that, and I think as a family, if you can join on the journey to make it easier for whatever your family member is going through, I think that helps a lot too. And then just being there to listen, you know. A lot of times when people are going through stuff and they're talking, they're not looking for a solution, and you know, they just really want your ear and to feel supported. So I would say, you know, if you could do that for a loved one too, I think that goes a long way.
Absolutely. Last question, and I'll be done. I know y'all are so very proud of her and her achievements and milestones she has accomplished. What special words would you like to speak to her and share with the world?
Mama, I'm proud of you. Super, super proud of you. I've always known that you're a fighter. Just a strong black mother. You believe in God, like all of us say. When you send prayers up, God listens. So we're doing the same for you. We're sending our prayers up for you to keep you strong mentally. I know it's been a long journey when you first got the diagnosis, but you're a trooper. So keep fighting. Just know we're in your corner, and we're gonna support you 100% on whatever you're going through and whatever you need to do. We're with you, Mama. Love you.
Mama, I just want to say that I am so very proud of you. You're as beautiful on the inside as you are on the outside. All of the dreams and aspirations you've always had for your life, they're still right there for the taking, and I know that you're going to continue to push through until they come to fruition. You know, you've been the rock for this family for such a long time, and now as a mom myself, I respect and appreciate everything that you have done to see your children go on to be successful. So just keep on fighting. Know that we love you, we support you, we believe in you. All of your dreams are possible. Just keep on leaning on God like you do, and we're here for you.
That was great. Thank you so much. This concludes the documentary of the extended family of the Cheryl Ross Woods story.
31 Days Sarcoidosis Devotional, written by Cheryl Woods, will be available for pre-orders on December the 25th, 2021. Be sure to follow the Cheryl Woods Ministries, CW Ministries, on Facebook or Instagram. Thank you so much for your support.